Hello everybody, this is Percy. Now I was combing through Percy's coat and look at how much I got already just by going down this side here. And so I wanted to just kind of show, look at this. So now I can go through this side here where I just combed out all of this. And it feels much more smooth and silky and soft compared to this side here where I didn't comb yet. See how the comb catches? And this side here feels rough and hard. And I just wanted to go through and show the process that I go through and what I do before I. What I like to do is just go through the coat with the comb, and the thing is, grooming a dog. A lot of times, what we think of when we think of grooming a dog, we think washing them, shampoo, and rinsing them, and then shaving them. But really, grooming is about proper skincare, coat care, brushing a dog, combing a dog. This is all grooming, right? Getting all of this out. And I really think that this is the part that a lot of us don't really think about. When I go to the self wash, I see people just bringing their dog and just lathering them up with shampoo and then, maybe drying them, but not all the time. And sometimes they just walk out damp. And then, you start to wonder why your dog's skin is, you know, developing some issues, why they're smelling after the bath. A lot of the reason is why they're smelling after the bath. A lot of the reason is because this hair that I'm combing out here is dead and it's dry and brittle, has a rough texture to it, and it smells as well, especially if you get this wet. Once you get this hair wet, the bacteria that it's holding on to gets pushed out to the surface when it absorbs the water. So that's why when this hair gets wet, it smells even more. So, thank you, buddy. Thank you, Percy. And this is the kind of tedious, boring part of the groom. Once I get them all dried after the bath and I start doing the haircut, that's the fun part. Okay, I just got a text. But that's the fun part of the groom, But this part here is, the tedious part, the part where it takes a lot of work and effort, takes some time. There we go. I use the sticker brush here to kind of break up the coat here whenever I do feel like it's a little bit too matted to just go through with the comb because it'll pull too much and, cause them too much discomfort. Then I like to go through with the slicker brush and just break that area up. Because with Percy here, we don't shave him. We never have. And we like to just keep him as long as possible, the owner and I. I like it personally because I love long-haired dogs. I think part of the fun of having a long-haired dog is the long hair. But I don't tell my clients, my personal preference until they say like, "Oh, we like to keep him long." I'm like, "Oh yeah, me too." So they like to keep him long, and so today I'm not even gonna be giving him a haircut with the clippers and the comb guards. Once I get him all combed out, I'm gonna give him a nice bath, and then with the scissors, just kind of shape everything up. So today is just what I like to call a bath and a neaten up, a bath and like a light scissor trim. There we go. I think I saw a question come in. Oh, Sunny S says, why don't you use a slicker? Oh yeah, I do. So whenever it's, see that? Our favorite groomer, House Coker. Oh, what's up, Patty? Sweet dog, and yes, so true. Very time consuming, but yet very rewarding too in the end. Exactly. Especially when you feel the coat afterwards, when you get all this rough hair out, and then you feel the dog, and they feel so soft and silky and fluffy, and you actually spent the time to get all of these pin mats combed out. And then when you go through, it just feels so nice because it's live hairs. The nice, soft, silky dog is always there. It's just that you can't feel it. It's like on this side, you can't really feel it because you have all that rough hair there. There we go. Okay. So whenever the comb does catch, I like to hold the skin at the base and just kind of ease it out. Just kind of work these mats out like that. Okay. So there's a pretty big one right there. There we go. And then you can literally just pull it out with your fingers once it's broken up. There we go. And around this time of year, it really, I say that on pretty much all time of year because every season, the dog's coat is going to be cycling through new hairs, and every follicle really, every hair strand is in its own life cycle. So you're always going to have dead hair mixed in with live hair, no matter what time of year it is. But especially around the fall, you'll see a lot of this coat change happening because what's happening is that with the change of the sunlight, their skin gets that cue from the sun, from the change of the sunlight, and it says like, oh, it's a new season. Let's get rid of the old hair to make room for new hair to grow. It detaches from the root, but because they're long-haired dogs, they're not like short hair that are thick and short, and it pushes it out on the floor. So with like a bath and tidy, yeah. Bath and neaten or bath and tidy. Some people, some shops call it a FFN, right? No, FFS, face, feet, and Sani. But anyways, or face, feet, and fanny, FFF. Anyways, but yeah, just basically a bath and a light scissor trim just to shape everything up is what we're doing here today. But before I can do that, before I can start washing him, I want to make sure his skin is clear and the coat is free of mats and tangles, and I comb this dead hair out of the skin. That way the shampoo and the water can actually get inside the skin, penetrate these pores because this dead old hair has been pulled out. That way it can actually penetrate these pores, get in there, and do a really good job actually cleaning good ingredients that are in the shampoo. And this part of the groom for me is kind of like, turkey is a great example because now it's almost Thanksgiving here in America. In the U.S., we celebrate Thanksgiving around November, in November, and we usually bake or fry or make turkey. But for me, this part of the groom is a lot like basting the turkey. Now, if we didn't baste the turkey, right? Like if we didn't let the turkey sit overnight, sometimes some people even let it sit for two nights, for 2 days, in brine, not basting, brining the turkey. If you don't actually brine the turkey, meaning let it sit in the salt water, salt and whatever spices people like to use for the brine. But if you don't brine the turkey for a day or two before you actually cook the turkey, it doesn't taste good. It doesn't matter how much gravy you cover it up with or how much seasoning you use after while you're cooking it. The meat it's just not going to taste good. It might be tough, not tender, and it just doesn't turn out right. For me, this is like brining the turkey by brushing and clearing out all of the dead hair before the bath, right? Then when I go to wash him, he's gonna have a really nice soft coat. It's gonna give really nice results that last, and that way, in a few days from now, when his owners go to pet him or give him a nice hug or cuddle, he's still gonna feel nice, right? It's still gonna stand the test of time. He's not gonna smell bad. He's still gonna feel good because of all of this dead hair that we're actually removing from the coat. And that's why I say that grooming is such an honest job. It's such honest work. That's acrylic paint that he got in. His owner told me. Right there on his paw here, you can see He's got some acrylic paint dried on there. But anyways, for me, just like cooking is they call it love. Like cooking is a labor of love, because um, it shows how much you care about the people that you're cooking for when you take the time to brine the meat overnight. It's like it shows that you're taking a lot of thought, you're putting a lot of thought and time and energy into the food that you're preparing for your guests because you love them, you care about them, you want them to enjoy the food that you're making, right? And I think that the same thing is true for grooming. Grooming is a labor of love, and it's such honest work because once I get all this dead hair combed out, right? Once I remove this out of his skin and out of his coat, there's no way to put it back in there. And it's going to take time for this newer hair, these live hairs to die off and become dry and brittle, like the hair that I just combed out. So by taking this time, it shows that you're putting a lot of thought and energy into doing a really good job for the dog and for your clients, right? So that when they, I don't want to say taste the food, but when they go in and rub their fingers in there and they rub their face on it, they feel the softness and they feel how clean he is, and also seeing how comfortable he is. He won't be itchy or scratchy or anything, because there's no mats or tangles pulling on him. So he's going to be much more comfortable as well. And to see that, I think it shows the pet owners how much you really care about the work that you're doing, and doing a really good job for them. It really is a labor of love. But I remember one time when I tried frying chicken for the first time. I never fried chicken before. I think it was last year. But when I actually started frying the chicken, that's when I seasoned it. So I never even knew about brining the meat. I just I just thought that, as long as you spiced it really good and, do a really good breading, then it would taste good. And so, let me- there's Micah's uh, legs being worked on. Let me pull this a little bit back so you can see. But anyways, so I remember I bought all these spices and, the flour. And so when I was breading the chicken to fry it, that's when I seasoned the crap out of it. And when we ate it, it really did not taste good. It had a very strong, like, gamey flavor, like an animal flavor to it. It just didn't, the meat didn't taste good. It was kind of tough. And I realized I missed a very important step, probably the most important step, which is brining the meat overnight. You know, maybe not even overnight, but at least like 3 or 4 hours, they said. So I made a second attempt, and my mother helped me by making the brine. There was like salt, what is it, ginger, some other spices, black pepper. But anyways, so my mom made a really nice brine for me, and I let the chicken sit overnight, and then I fried it the next day. And because I used so much spices, and I ran out of spices, so instead of using any spice, I just lightly breaded it, just put a light layer of flour on it, coated it with a light layer of flour, and then fried it. And it tasted amazing. Even though it was just a really light layer of flour, and there's no spices or any seasoning, because of the brine, because I brined it overnight, and all this flavor soaked into the meat. When I fried it, it tasted incredible. It tasted so good. And so I think that's the analogy that I'm trying to draw, is that with washing your dog, when you're giving your dog a bath, this is the most important part of this is a really important step that you don't want to skip, because even though it does take time, and like they do fuss a little bit and they try to get away, they pull their arms and stuff like that, they don't really enjoy it. And it takes a lot of effort and time and patience. But this is the part of the groom of the bath that's actually going to give you all the results you want. That soft, fluffy, silky coat. Oh, there we go. So they use their head and mouth to try to push the comb away sometimes. so it got caught in his muzzle. But anyways, without this part, no matter how well you wash them, no matter how good the shampoo is, or or whatever, you're not going to get the really good results that you want. The nice soft fluffy coat, the silky, the silky hair, the smooth skin, and they don't smell. Even when they go outside and get wet, they don't smell like a wet dog, because all that dead hair that's holding on to that bacteria that causes the odor, all of that is now combed out, right? So just like brining the chicken is the most important part that takes the longest, this is the most important part of the bath that also takes the longest time. But if you don't brine the chicken, it doesn't matter how much spices you use to try to cover it up, it's still not going to taste good. Same thing with bathing a dog. If you don't take this step, if you don't take the time to actually comb out all the dead hair and work out the tangles, then it doesn't matter how good it smells. It doesn't matter how great of a spray that you use afterwards, like to cover up their smell. You're still not going to get the results that last, the results that you really want. There we go. So this is the most important part of the groom. There we go. It's also probably the most tedious part of the groom. Drying the dog also is pretty boring because you're just sitting there drying them. So a lot of the groom is pretty boring. You see how repetitive this is? It is pretty boring. But that's the thing. It's like we have to be willing to go through this difficult, boring part in order to get to the part where it's really fun. Oh, and you get to be creative with the scissors. And you get to do a really nice haircut at the end. But in order to get to that part, we have to be willing to take the proper steps to get them properly prepared. Get the skin and the coat properly prepared for that last part where you're having fun, being creative. I think the same thing for cooking too. I think cooking is such a great, has so many great parallels to grooming, because just like in cooking, a lot of the time spent is doing a lot of boring stuff. Peeling the ingredients, cutting them, cubing them, cleaning them, getting them all ready. And then when you got the pan on the fire and you're mixing all the ingredients, that's when you're kind of having a little more fun. And then when it's all ready to be plated, you get to plate the dish, make it look all nice, And to me, that's kind of like when you're washing and drying the dog, is like when you're mixing all the ingredients in the pan. And then when you are plating the dish and making it look really nice, that's kind of like when you're actually doing the haircut. See that? So, let me show you here. When I go through here now, look at how easily the comb goes through, right? Doesn't catch on anything now, and the hair feels so nice and silky and smooth. Now on this side, the side I didn't do yet, see that how it catches? And, well, I did do this side here, but you could feel a difference in the texture as well. Here it feels very rough and clumpy, and this leg feels really nice and silky. Same thing with here, you can feel it. It's like rough, and it doesn't really smell that great. But on this side here, it already starts to smell really nice, and it feels really nice. Look at that, right? So I'm not gonna, when I do the shampoo, I'm not really relying on the shampoo to get the dog to smell better. They already smell better. See, this side already smells better because I combed out all the hair that smells. The shampoo really isn't for the hair to make the hair smell better. The shampoo is really designed for the skin, to make the skin healthier. Because it's only healthy skin that grows beautiful hair, beautiful healthy hair. It's about health, because health is beauty. Patty says, you can even see the differences in the coat. Yeah, exactly. You really can see the difference on this side compared to this side. But we're going to do the same thing we did on the other side. There we go. Good boy, Percy. There we go. Good boy. So go through and break up a lot of that clumpy bundles of hair, dead hair. You never want to get frustrated with the dog for, you know, for like plopping down, you know, doing stuff like this, like making sure you can't really act like that because it's their body and they don't really want you to do it because it probably feels uncomfortable. But by remaining calm and being patient and persistent, we're letting them know with our body language and also how we're feeling emotionally. We're just calm, you know, we're not getting frustrated. Then it lets them know, you to do this, you know, I'm supposed to do this. There we go, buddy. See that? Look at that. That's what we're getting, buddy. Yep, that's what we're doing, Percy. Okay, so go through here. And by doing this, it really, the shampoo that you choose to use, it really is up to you. It's your personal preference. You know, do you like the dog to smell like mangoes or passion fruit or lavender? You know, like just as long as you're using quality shampoo that's made for dogs, that's specifically made for a dog. Because even if you're using very mild shampoo like Johnson and Johnson baby shampoo, the pH is still different. So human pH, the pH for our skin is more of 5.5, right? It's a little more acidic than dogs. Dogs' skin, the pH for dog skin and hair is more closer to a 7. It's more neutral, right? So that means that because our pH is more acidic, it's more of 5.5, then when we use products that are made for humans, it's going to be a little more acidic to a dog for a dog's skin. That means that it's going to wash away, it's going to strip away their acid mantle. Their acid mantle is a very light layer. We have an acid mantle, everybody. It's a very light layer of oil that protects the skin and the hair from bacteria and all of that. And when we strip that away by using human hair products, even if it's Johnson and Johnson baby shampoo, when we use that, it strips away their acid mantle, that protective layer of oil. Now, their skin and hair are left wide open to bacteria, fungus, dust and debris, all of that to just move right in. And because bacteria and fungus, yeast is so opportunistic, it's gonna move right in when that protective layer of oil, the acid mantle, is off, is stripped away. So that means that after you wash your dog with Johnson and Johnson baby shampoo or Head and Shoulders or Pantene Pro V or Tresemme, whatever, you know, I've seen all kinds, or especially Dawn dish detergent. Whenever you use these strong, well, and you know, strong for a dog's skin. Whenever you use shampoo that's not made for dog skin, that's not pH balanced for a dog, then what happens is about a day or two later, maybe 2, 3 days after you wash your dog is gonna stink and they're gonna be itchy. And you're gonna wonder why when you just wash them. It's because you washed away their protective layer of oil. And that's why you want to make sure you use dog shampoo made specifically for dogs. And you don't want to get the bottom shelf, the cheapest one either. You want to get, a quality shampoo and one that's made for dog skin. That way, when you're washing them, it's not going to strip away that acid mantle because it's pH balanced for their skin. Hopefully that makes sense, because I still see a lot of pet owners using Johnson & Johnson baby shampoo because they believe it's mild and it's tearless, and that might be true for humans, for babies, but it's still not about pH, and it's not the right pH for dog skin. All right, and the reason why I'm running my hand through it because I can literally feel the difference. I can still feel some brittle, dry coat in there. And sure enough, the comb catches on that dry, brittle hair. Okay, Crystal, I think it's kind of funny that a lot of dog products smell like food, like they make your dog more appetizing. Yeah, right? Shoot. Asians will probably love it. I'm kidding. Well, you know what? When I was down in Florida, this past time, when was it? October 19th. So last month, when I was in Orlando to groom Charlie, I was staying at an Airbnb, and such a nice couple. I mean, the sweetest couple ever. And they're originally from the Philippines, and Raul, the husband, he was telling me that he actually grew up on a farm in the Philippines, and he had like 14 dogs around there. And so they grew up around dogs and farm animals. And he was saying that even in the Philippines, there are some tribes in the mountains. There's some mountain people, who live in the mountains who eat dogs in the Philippines. And I was like, oh, wow. So it's not just Koreans or Chinese. And he was saying, no, there's pretty much in every Asian country, there's still a small population that, continue to eat dogs. And I think it is changing now though. It's really like a older, you know, dying um, breed of Asians. I think it's a very old-fashioned, outdated practice, especially in Korea now. It's really only a few people in the country that don't really know better, and they still believe they're superstitious, and they believe that eating dogs has like a healing effect, they feel like it's medicinal. So there's only a few people that eat dogs, from what I know of, in Korea. And he said in the Philippines, it is looked like kind of frowned upon in the major cities, but there are people in the mountains who still eat dogs, and he's saying, it's just a shame. So, and he's older. So I really think that, you know, it's probably not going to be some because yeah, I think we know better now, you know. But I mean, who's to say? Because I remember Caesar Milan was doing a Q&A, and somebody asked him why he goes to China and helps out the people in China when they eat dogs. And Caesar Milan, he said, he tries not to judge anybody, or, he tries to be understanding and try to see why people do what they do and see where they're coming from. And he tries not to be judgmental. And Caesar Milan, I love the way he answered. He said that he asked the same question with no judgment to a Chinese man while he was in China. He said, I'm not trying to judge you or make you feel bad or guilty or anything. I just like to know, why do you guys eat dogs? And he said the Chinese man, the gentleman answered him, at least we eat them. He said, at least we put them to use. In America, you guys put down over 4 million dogs a year, and you just toss them in the trash, and like they're nothing. And he was like, at least we're using the meat and we're putting them to use. And yeah, Caesar Milan was like, that, I can see where where you're coming from. And it just got me to think. It's like, nobody's the villain of their own story, right? Nobody's the bad guy in their own mind. So yeah, I mean, I guess the Chinese people who do eat dogs, at least like they probably feel like at least we're putting the meat to use. We're not just tossing the dogs away, like throwing them away like trash, like we do here in America. But I think also in America, we have such an attachment to our dogs. They're family members. It would feel so wrong to eat the dogs. Like, I don't know. Who's to say what's right? But anyways, thanks, Crystal, for getting me down this weird rant. Crystal, that's sad, but at the same time, it's a cultural norm there. I believe it's in India where cows are sacred, yet we eat them here like it's nothing. Yeah, exactly. Hey, what's up, Terry? So yeah, I mean, I feel like these days, especially now, with a lot of stuff that I've been experiencing in my life, I'm very hesitant to call anything, right or wrong or judge others. I just want to try to understand where people are coming from now. What makes them do the things they do? What is it that motivates them? You know? But and I hear that I heard it in a few podcasts. Joe Rogan talked about it. I know Brian Callen mentioned it with Brendan Schaub on the Fighter and the Kid podcast. But they're working on flesh labs, right? Where they're trying to recreate meat, like they're trying to recreate um, the chemical makeup of steak, of meat, so they can make meat without actually having to kill any animals. And it's just is not always easily replicable. You replicate it in a lab, but they're trying to. They're working on it right now. I was like, oh man, this is like Star Trek kind of stuff, where in Star Trek they have the recreated meat. Anyways, restructured, like chemically, what is it? Cellularly reconstructed meat. But anyways, they're working on that now, where they're gonna try to make meat, chicken, steak, all of that, ribs. They're gonna try to make it in a lab so that we won't have to actually harm any animals in order to continue eating meat. And I thought that was pretty interesting. I was like, wow, I would totally be into that. Who is that? Brenda, what's up, Brenda? Good morning. Oh, good morning. It's actually afternoon over here. Where are you at, Brenda? But yeah, I thought that was really interesting. I was like, wow, if they actually start doing that, start making meat in a lab, creating meat, creating steaks and stuff in a lab, it wouldn't weird me out at all. I'd be like, yeah, give me some of that lab created meat, I did try to go vegetarian for a while because, I just felt like, how can I call myself a dog lover, an animal lover, and still eat meat? And so I tried going vegetarian for a while, but I just, I just felt a drop in energy, like I just felt fatigued. I felt so tired. And the work that I do, it's very physically demanding. And I just felt exhausted, And so I started eating meat again. But I try to get like the grass-fed organic meat and stuff like that. And I do eat a lot more vegetables now. I try to incorporate more vegetables in my diet. But yeah, I mean, and I don't know about that veggie meat. Have you heard about the Impossible Burger? I forget. I think it was a school, a university or something. But they actually, Joe Rogan talked about it on his podcast. This is where I heard about it. And he brought up the research being done. But the Impossible Burger is actually super unhealthy. And when they fed it to rats, in a study, and he was saying, okay, I understand not all the effects that happen to rats are transferable to humans, but it is something to consider. When they fed the rats the Impossible Burger at Burger King, the rats showed, really bad health signs. Blood pressure went up, cholesterol went up, like all of this stuff. They gained a bunch of weight. So the Impossible Burger at Burger King, even though it's vegetarian, it's not necessarily more healthy. They were saying that it would actually be, if you're doing it for health reasons, it would actually be healthier just to order a Whopper. So I was like, wow. And the thing is, I think that Burger King's stance on it is that they're not marketing it as a healthy sandwich, a healthy alternative. They're marketing it as a vegetarian alternative, right? So, you know, I guess their stance on it is, hey, we never said it was healthy. We just said it was vegetarian. Oh man. But I thought that was pretty interesting. Um, Brenda, I am on the Gold Coast. Wow, awesome. 6:45 a.m. Wow, good morning, Brenda. Terry, it was a protein deficiency. I really felt it. Um, or a detox. The Impossible Burger has soy in it, and that's not so great for you. Uh-huh. Yeah, so they like broke it down and studied it and like researched it in a lab and yeah, fed it to some rats and yeah, what they found was pretty alarming. The Impossible Burger is um, apparently not so healthy. Okay. But it is vegetarian. So they're not, it's not false, what is, they call it, false marketing, or, they're not being deceitful. It is vegetarian. And from what I know, from what I'm aware of, none of the commercials actually say the word healthy. So they're not really marketing it as a healthy burger. They're just marketing it as a vegetarian burger. I grew up vegetarian because I grew up in the Seventh-day Adventist church, and my mom still goes to the Seventh-day Adventist church. She's still a member. Very religious, and yeah, I grew up in a very strict religious household. Encourage is a nice way to put it, but Seventh-day Adventists promote a vegetarian. I never really had meat unless it was a really special occasion, like a Korean holiday, or something like that. Then my mom would cook some meat, some traditional Korean dishes that had meat in it, and oh man, that was so amazing. But when I was a kid, I never really had meat. I always ate veggie meats that the SDA church would sell, and I was a severely overweight kid. And I mean, a lot of the church members that I know of were overweight. So I'm not really sure if veggie meat is necessarily healthy. It just seems like it's a way to continue eating something that feels like meat because you miss eating meat. But I don't know. There's probably a lot of sodium in it, a lot of soy, a lot of fillers. So yeah, there's a lot of overweight, obese Seventh-day Adventists who are vegetarian. But anyways, yeah, I was like so convinced and so into the church. I actually thought I was going to be a pastor in that church, and I went door to door witnessing, and I was like a evangelist. It was crazy. I was like totally into it. But now I'm still spiritual, just not religious. I don't really I don't really believe in religion anymore. There you go, buddy. Wow. So, and the reason why, just to change subject real quick, the reason why it's so nasty right here, under here, is because this old fuzzy hair literally grabs and holds on to all of that food particles and the nasty stuff. The live hairs that are left behind, because they're live and sealed and they have oil on them, a lot of the food particles are going to just slide right off. And the water, the moisture, it's just going to slide off. But because there's this old fuzzy hair that's just kind of frayed and wide open, it acts as like a sponge and just holds on to all of that nasty stuff, all that gritty stuff. So, same thing with dingleberries. If you notice, like, your dog sometimes gets like these dingleberries, the little pieces of poo stuck on there, it's because these dead hairs, see that just, are fuzzy, and it's like Velcro, you know? It's like Velcro. And so when the poo particles touch those dead fuzzy hairs, it clings, it sticks onto them. But the live hairs, because they're live and smooth and silky, and they're sealed, they have oil on it, even if the poo touched those live hairs, because it's silky, it slides right off. Same thing with their muzzle. So stiff. Same thing with his muzzle here. The food particles and the moisture and all of that, it sticks onto here. It just gets absorbed like Velcro. It just sticks on there, clings on there, because all of the dead fuzzy hair that's there. But when we comb it out and we get the dead hair out of there, then the live hair literally feels much better, literally feels much more silkier. And the food particles, the moisture, from the water they drank and everything, it literally just slides right off. And even if he were to go in his water bowl and take a really big drink of water, and all this chin area gets all wet, when there's not a lot of dead hair in there and it's mostly just live hairs, it'll air dry pretty quickly, because the live hairs repel off the moisture. It's this hair here that's holding on to the moisture, keeping the area yucky, right? See, it just sticks to my fingers even. There we go. So that's why this part of the groom is so important. Getting all of this stuff combed out of the skin and working it out of the coat. That way, once we get all of this dead hair out of there, then what we're left with is mostly live hairs. And these live hairs, they're gonna keep that area cleaner because when it gets wet, it'll dry much faster. When food particles get stuck on there, it'll literally just kind of repel it off, slide off. And so this is the part of the groom that's gonna give you the results that actually last. So for the next few weeks after today's bath, he's still gonna stay clean for much longer. It stands the test of time. Look at that. So now all those food particles are gone. See that? And all that yuckiness is gone. And it feels much more silkier and smooth right there. It feels so nice. Alrighty. So I'm not going to be relying on the shampoo to get all that, get all that out of there and get it all clean for me. Before I even wash him, now it's all clean and clear. Because the shampoo is really designed for the skin, not so much the hair. It does repair the hair, of course, has ingredients to do that, and it is designed to do that, but really the shampoo, the reason why we want to let it sit for 5 to 10 minutes is so it has that time to really penetrate the skin and work on the skin, all the good ingredients kind of heal and repair the hair and the skin. There we go. There we go, buddy. So this is the most important part of the groom. This right here. And now, good boy, Percy. Now when I go through his entire body with a comb, it should slide right through like butter. Okay, I didn't get this side of the face yet. There we go. And you can literally feel like bumps in his skin right there. That's smoothed out. Now it actually feels nice and smooth. It doesn't feel bumpy. And the crazy thing is, I usually don't even notice that the skin feels bumpy until I start combing it out, and I feel the bumps, and then I feel it getting smooth. Then you have something to compare it with. And then the other side, you start to notice, oh, it is bumpy. And then we brush all this out. And now the skin is actually feeling much more smooth. Because the pores are loaded up, packed full of the dead hair, all the dander that you see in there, all the powdery stuff, right? So the pores are packed full. And so they do, start to bubble up a little bit. You start to feel a little, like graininess, little bumps. But then as you comb it all out, the skin actually starts to smooth out and it feels much smoother. There we go. And the coat smells better. Smells much better. There we go. And now that I did this though, after I get done washing him, drying him takes maybe 10 minutes. And I'm not even using a high pressure dryer, high velocity dryer. I'm just using a hand dryer. And he dries in about 10 minutes, 10-15 minutes he's dry. Why? Because I'm mostly live hairs. I'm working with mostly live hairs because I combed out all the dead hair, which holds on to the moisture like a sponge. And because I'm combing all of this out, and the live hairs literally start to air dry on their own. It starts to repel off the moisture. Even before I start drying him, because I do file his nails before I start drying him, I towel dry him really good. And I can start to notice like he's already starting to dry on his own, even before I start putting the air on him, the blow dryer. So by front loading the work, by front loading all the labor and doing it before the bath, the rest of the groom is going to be super easy now. And I'm going to get super good results. He's going to look so fluffy and silky, soft. And he's going to smell so good for weeks to come, not just today. And I don't have to worry about him smelling in a few days from now, especially if he goes out in the rain or something, comes back wet. Not only will he dry on his own pretty quickly, because the live hairs, like I said, it repels off the water, but he's not going to smell bad. So that's why I really believe that, doing an honest job, doing the work, there's really no substitute for it. And it is such honest work because even in a few days, he's still going to smell really good and feel really good. Wow, I can see like the powdery stuff just flying out of his skin. There we go. Good boy, Percy. Alrighty, any questions coming in? Greetings from Moscow. Wow, how are you from Moscow? Okay. That's incredible. I think we're living in such an incredible time right now, the day and age that we're living in right now, where I can just set my phone up, push a few buttons, and I can broadcast live to anyone in the world who's interested. People from Australia, people from Moscow. I mean, my friend Lee in California, Terry Miller. It's just amazing. Like we could be connected in an instant. And I can share my ideas, like show you my process. This is incredible. We've never lived in a time like this, like, wow. I think we're all kind of starting to grasp, how powerful this is, this time that we're living in, like, wow. I'm amazed by it. I'm still like amazed. My father, he was living with me in the house when we were living in Chambly for a little bit, and I remember we were sitting there watching TV, and they showed this commercial. This was like 5 years ago, but they were showing this commercial of the new iPad and everything that it could do. And I was just blown away. My jaw was on the floor, and I looked at my father, who was like in his 60s, and I was like, almost 70. And I was like, "Oh my God, Dad, look at this." I was like, did you ever imagine something like this?" And he's just so unimpressed, right? He's just like, "Psh, it's technology." He was like, "That's just the world we live in now." And I was like, "I know, but aren't you amazed?" I was like, "Did you ever think that we were going to live in a time like this?" And he goes, "When I was younger, I never even saw an airplane." And I was like, "Yeah, I mean, so yeah, aren't you amazed? Isn't this incredible to you?" And he was like, "It's just the way it is." I was like, "Oh my goodness." What does it take to impress this man? But I mean, for me, I don't know. I just, you know, maybe it's because, he comes from the old school Korean traditional, you know, very highly strong male kind of ideal, like a man shouldn't show too much excitement. A man should, not show too much emotions. He should be, you know, stuff like that. That whole like strong male image. So maybe that has a lot to do with it too. But for me, I can't hide my emotions. I was just like, oh my God, just my jaw was on the floor. But I mean, yeah, I mean, I can't believe that we're living in a time like this. This is all Back to the Future type of stuff. When I was a kid, watching Back to the Future Part 2, I mean, I was like, wow. They had the fax machine where Marty McFly got fired. He was talking to his boss on the screen, on the screen. I was just like, wow, like, would that really be possible in the future? And now here we are on streaming live. Crazy. All just in a few decades, right? I mean, and now it seems like every couple years we're making such huge like leaps advancement in technology, Oh wow, there's a huge pocket of just dander just pop out of there. There we go. All right. Now he's starting to feel much softer here, especially the neck. It'll feel really rough. There we go. And it's probably because that's where the collar goes. There we go. All right. And now, remember where I showed you where the acrylic paint was? And his owner even told me, like, if you need to cut it out, you can just cut it out. But see, it's all gone. Just by, and it feels nice and silky now, you know? So yeah, we don't have to shave it off or cut the hair off. We just have to brush out that old hair that's holding on to all of that stuff, right? And then once we brush out all that old dead hair, the dog will actually be clean again. There we go. So that's why I say brush more and bathe less. Whenever you feel like, oh man, my dog's stinky, I need to brush them, it would be better to think, oh, my dog's stinky, I need to brush them, Did I just repeat myself? Instead of thinking, my dog's stinky, I need to wash them, you can think, oh, my dog's stinky, I need to brush them. That would be much better, and it'll give you much better results. It'll give you the results that you're actually looking for. Because if your dog is stinky and you just wash him, if I would have just washed him before doing all of this, he would still be stinky. And then he would probably be even more matted. And then it'll just make everything worse. So instead of thinking, oh, my dog's smelly or dirty, I need to wash them, it would be much better to think, oh, my dog's stinky or dirty, I need to brush them. And then by brushing them, this is going to give you all the results you're actually looking for. A nice, clean, soft dog that's fluffy, that smells nice. And then after you brush them thoroughly and get all that dead hair out, then if you still want to wash them, by all means, and you're going to get much better results from the shampoo and the bath because you took the time to prep them properly. There we go. There we go. All right. Crystal, on average, start to finish, how long do your grooms take? About 3 to 4 hours. So this morning, I got to my client's house. I did a Havanese this morning, and she's always really matted and just has a lot of dead coat. So it took me a while to get her all brushed out and combed out. So the Havanese I did this morning, see, I got there around 9:45. And I started, I set up my tools, cleaned everything out, sanitized everything, and actually got started a little bit after 10 and started combing and all that. So I started a little bit after 10 and I got done around 1:30. So what is that? 10, 11, 12, 1, 30. So about 3.5 hours it took me start to finish on the dog this morning. And then this guy here, how long have I been streaming? 54 minutes. So it's taking me about an hour to comb him out. But then the bath is only going to take maybe 30 minutes for the bath. And then drying him takes maybe like 15 minutes because this live hair is going to dry pretty quickly. So if I didn't comb him out, then drying him would take forever and he wouldn't even look really dry. It'll look like he's got like some kind of grease or, some gel in his hair or something. He won't be nice and fluffy and really dry. Because I've tried it before just to save some time, I tried just go ahead and washing him. And I was like, I'm going to comb him and, I'm going to comb him while I dry him anyways. Oh my God, it takes so much longer to dry him. And I do have to do all this combing while I'm drying him. And it doesn't really dry really nice and fluffy like I like. Oh, all that powder just poured out of there. So I've tried not doing all of this before, but it just doesn't give me the results that I like. And so drying him if I didn't comb him out, drying him would probably take about 30 minutes. 30-40 minutes. But because I'm doing all of this labor, I'm front loading the work. Now, after I wash him, drying him will probably take about 15 minutes, 10-15 minutes. And then after he's dry, I'm just gonna scissor around his feet, do a little light trimming around his eyes and his face, and then he's done. So I should be done in about an hour, maybe an hour and a half. So his groom is probably gonna take me about 2.5 hours. Let's see here. Lisa, it's so funny how they try to sit on their tails when you comb. Yeah, they don't really like their tails being messed with, or their feet. Birdie Feely here in Ireland, it's 9 p.m. Wow, that's pretty cool. Hello to Ireland. Technology is cool, blows my mind too. Yeah, right? I can't get over this. I think this is incredible that we can be connected from all parts of the world. Okay. There we go. There we go. Good job, Percy. You probably won't believe this, but Percy bites people. Isn't that crazy? And he growls and he's all mean and everything. But I told his mom, and she like sometimes doesn't even believe me. But I tell her, like, he's such a sweetheart on the table, on the grooming table. He doesn't show any aggression, or he doesn't try to bite or anything. And even though he doesn't really like it sometimes, like when I work on his legs or feet or his tail, he doesn't really like it, see that? But he doesn't bite me. He doesn't growl at me. He does before he gets on the table though. That's really weird. When he's on the grooming table, he's such a sweetheart and so patient. But when he's not on the grooming table, even when I leave, he barks at me, growls. He's like a little Jekyll and Hyde, like a split personality or something. But when he's on the grooming table here, he's a sweetheart. Okay. There we go. There we go. But again, this is like brining the meat, before we cook it. It takes a while. It takes patience. It takes time. But because I take the time to actually, do the work, and honor the process, and prepare his skin and coat properly, this is kind of like brining the meat. So then when I start to wash him, he's going to get really nice and clean. He's going to rinse really easily. He's going to lather easily. And then when I dry him, he's going to dry much faster, much nicer. He's going to be all nice and fluffy. And then when I do the scissoring, it's going to be nice and fun and easy. It's kind of like plating the dish, making it really nice and presentable. There we go. That's why I say grooming is a labor of love. We do it because we love them, because we care about them. We want them to feel good and look good. But when you feel good, looking good is kind of a natural side effect, right? So we want him to feel good, look good, be nice and clean and comfortable. And we want the nice effects to last. We want the groom to stand the test of time. There you go, buddy. There we go. There we go. So for me, it's really about doing work that's meaningful, that actually makes a real difference in the dog's life. It actually helps the client, gives them nice, lasting results, making a real positive impact on their life. So for me, it's about It's about doing art, you know? This is my artwork. Doing work that's meaningful to me for people who value it, for people who care. There we go. This is what makes me feel like I'm an artist. Because I'm not just washing dogs. I'm not just throwing him in the tub, lathering up with shampoo, blasting him with a strong, high velocity air dryer, and then just shaving him if I need to. You know, rather than do that, I'm doing something different, something meaningful to me and something that my clients really value. And I can't do it for everyone. I can only do it for a few because of the amount of time it takes. And so, it's like it's doing meaningful work and making the biggest impact I possibly can on the few rather than trying to do some mediocre work for the masses, right? And make a small impact on pretty much anybody that I can reach. Rather than do that, just try to make the biggest impact on the few who actually really care. There we go. There we go. Good job, Percy. Wow. I'm not sure if you can see this, but a bunch of powdery stuff, like dandery stuff in there. A bunch of dander. Okay. Our favorite. Oh, it's 111. He knows the table business, so he cooperates. Crystal says, do you learn you approach from another groomer or just from trial and error? Mostly just trial and error. And just, yeah, because I actually went out of business because I was doing this at my retail location. And so instead of doing 20, 30 dogs like I planned to do, like how I learned to do, I was only able to do like 6 to 8, doing it like this. And that was with help, with employees. And I went out of business because I really didn't have a mold to go from. I had to create my own mold. And when it didn't work out, I didn't have enough capital to sustain a mistake like that. And I went out of business. I went in debt. And so then I started, I found a house to groom out of where I could rent the house. And so that meant my living costs and the cost of doing business, was the same because I was grooming out of the home that I was renting. And that worked a little bit. But now I feel like I found a way that works, by doing it like this, by just coming to my client's house. I cut out all the overhead so I can charge a reasonable amount for my clients. So it's within reach, I'm not like pricing myself out of the market, and I'm making enough where I can sustain my business now and, take care of myself. So yeah, this is just kind of figuring it out, finding a way that works. All right. 111 in California, 413 in Upper Michigan. Nice. Okay, 314 in Missouri. Wow, Cynthia. Awesome. Cynthia McDonald. All right. So now what I'm going to do is do the close shaving. Check his ears. His ears look good. Okay. Ears look nice and clean. There we go. There we go. There's some long hair in there, but it's okay. It's not enough to block airflow, and that's all I'm really looking for is making sure there's enough room in the ear canals for the air to flow. So I just pulled out this out of his ear, some of the long hair. Okay, so now do the close shaving before the bath, and then I'm going to go ahead and wash him up. Let's see here. Put that in. Okay, so for his feet, I like to do it with a 30 blade. Just skim. we go. I like to do it before the bath because sometimes when you do like shave them close to the skin, just like with us when we shave our neck or our facial hair for men. But yeah, some women get short haircuts, and so you get the back of your neck and sides shaved. But whenever you shave close to the skin, a lot of times it feels itchy and irritable. And so with dogs, they have more sensitive skin than we do. So I figure if it makes us feel itchy, it may make them feel itchy as well. So I like to do the close shaving before the bath. That way if it does make them feel itchy, the bath will help with that, help cool the skin back down. There we go. I have long hair now, but I used to get my hair cut short. And whenever I did go and get my hair cut, I would always want to take a shower afterwards because I would feel itchy. And that's why I like blade, so it's a little bit longer for his sanitary area. And I don't know why they call it the sanitary area when it's actually the least sanitary area on the entire dog's body. Or maybe they call it a sanitary shave because you're shaving that area to keep it more sanitary. There we go. But yeah, I was wondering, like, why do they call that the sanitary area when it's actually the least sanitary part of the dog's body? Maybe it's kind of like in prison or something when you call like the biggest guy in prison, you call him tiny. I don't know. There we go. So I just kind of skim. I don't really touch the skin there. Just kind of lightly skim over it just to create a little space there. If he's is he a Catan de Tuliar? 23, 19 in Finland. Wow, in Finland, I should be sleeping. Yeah, why aren't you sleeping? No, just kidding. No, thank. What I meant to say was, why aren't you sleeping? No, just kidding. No, thank. What I meant to say was, thank you so much for watching. No, he's a Havanese. There we go. But they're all related, right? The Catan de Tuliar. They think that they were Bijans originally that was shipwrecked on Madagascar, and Havanese. They believe that it was like a Bijan type of dog that got shipwrecked in Havana. But anyways, yeah, I mean, I think they're all pretty much cousins to each other, right? The Bijan, the Catan de Tuliar, or Tulier, however you pronounce it, and Havanese. They're basically the Bijan's cousin that lives in Havana. All right. Sorry, I still feel like this rough hair right here, rough part of skin. There we go. Now it feels much better. Okay. And I like to clip the nails before I wash them. And what that's going to do is by clipping his nails before I wash him, see right now his nails are sealed, right? It's all sealed tight because that's just how it is, right? But by clipping the tip and opening up that nail cuticle, I guess, whatever you call it. But by opening this up, now there's a sharp edge there. The nail is actually opened up. So that means that right there where I just clipped, it's going to absorb the water. It's going to soak it up and make the tip of that nail soft. That way, when I file his nails after the bath, see that? When I file his nails after the bath, it'll be much easier to file. His nails will be nice and soft already. There we go. There we go. You see yourself, buddy? You see yourself on camera? Shoot. You're handsome, buddy. There we go. And so I like to clip the nails like this way. Even though I expose the nerve there, I don't actually cut the nerve because the nerve grows towards the bottom of the nail. So by cutting on the top of the nail, down, like a little triangle there, I can get right down to the nerve without actually cutting it by accident. It's usually when we cut the nail parallel to the paw pad, and we go down like this flat, that's when you actually accidentally cut that nerve. So instead of going like this from you know, level to the paw, I go like this from top, on top of the paw. There we go. That way, even though it's kind of short, we can get right there on the nerve, and it doesn't cause it to bleed. There we go. So we're just getting the tip of the nail. There we go. So that's the nerve right there. Maybe I can zoom in so you can see it. So right there, see that? That's the nerve right there. There's the last one here. So see, it's already pretty short. Oh, it's already pretty short. But if you go on top there, you could still get it a little shorter without actually making it bleed. All right. So now I'm gonna go ahead and wash him. And maybe I'll stream again when I'm doing his haircut, you know, just trimming him up a little bit. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys.